Welcome back, everybody. Okay, bringing you a quick update on the Extra. Still enjoying this one, having a lot of fun with it, but there's a couple of things I thought I'd bring up that I thought it'd be nice to have known a few things. One thing's actually an issue that I wish they would have done better. The first two things are on this one, the characteristics on knife edge, it really wants to tuck to the gear pretty hard. There's three of these at my club now that I know of, and all three of them have the same characteristic. When you go to knife edge, it just tucks really, really hard to the gear. So on my controller, I have mixed in about 15% of rudder to elevator to try to counteract most of that knife edge. Not really a problem, it's just one of those nice to knows. The other one that's nice to know is about this landing gear right here. I understand they had to cut corners somewhere, and don't get me wrong, this is a great plane for the price, but this landing gear is kind of weenie. So just know that if you don't have a perfect landing, you're going to be reshaping the wire in here. I've had a couple landings in Crosswind that when I touched down, I thought I touched down relatively soft, but the gear was bent. So just know that gear is just not great. So try to work on your landings maybe a little bit more. The one thing though that I wish they would have done better has to do with this receiver and this antenna. So I look at my telemetry a lot when I fly, or at least after I fly. And one of the things I noticed on this is 2 different days, my second flight of the day, I had a hold come up on my radio. And if you don't know what that is, in your telemetry you'll get 2 different types of flight log data. One is frame loss and one is holds. So a frame loss is a loss of signal for 1/100th of a second. And that's usually not a big deal. They say you can get like 300 per flight. I don't like it climbing that high. On this one, on the flights, I was getting like 29 frame losses in a 5-minute flight. And to me, that's nothing. That's 1/100th of a second, 29 times over 5 minutes. They're not consecutive. So it's really not a big deal. But on 2 of the flights, happened to be my second flight of the day, both days, I actually got a hold code. And a hold is a loss of signal for 1 full consecutive second. Anytime you get a hold, you should be looking at things and figuring out, okay, why is that? The first time I thought, okay, that's just odd and weird. Let's see what happens. The second time, I was like, okay, something's got to change. So I got digging into this antenna, and if they were going to spend money on this model, I wish they would have picked an antenna with 2 whiskers. Just helps you get signal in a couple of different directions instead of just one. But that's what they gave us. And I will say, I was relatively far away both times I got a hold. And it was pretty obvious because the airplane actually snapped. I was in a bank and it actually snapped flat. So it was pretty obvious something happened. So when I opened this up, what I found was this whisker, which is actually the antenna, was right in here next to this magnet. And I mean, that's just never a good idea. It's away from most of the electronics. Your battery's up here, your receiver's here. It was kind of out of the way, but it was right next to that magnet. So I'm figuring that has to probably do with why I'm getting a hold. So what I do to fix things like that is I like using these guys. This is just a coffee stirrer. You can get it pretty well anywhere. They're free. Pick up 1 or 2 when you get a cup of coffee. But they're great for these antennas. They help keep the whisker nice and straight, and you can tuck them in different areas. So what I've done is I've glued one in right here. So I'll end up putting this antenna back here where I don't get too tight of a loop, but I get it away from any metal, magnets, any electronics, and that should hopefully get rid of any hold codes I have. Being only one antenna, when an antenna sends out a signal, it goes like a donut around the whisker. So I'm getting really good signal along the side, but if it's pointing at me or away from me, it's a dead zone for the antenna. That's why it's always great to have at least a second whisker. So I wish they would have done that different, but hopefully just this little change here will get me away from any hold codes or any danger with the airplane. So other than that, it's actually been a really fun airplane, and I really encourage, if this is something you want to do, get your skills up. This is a great plane. I've got one, another buddy of mine has one, that are both trying to learn some different rolling circles and things. And one guy's a newer guy at the club. He picked it up to do IMAC practice. So we got him set up with a good CG. He's loving it. So this is a great little airplane to have around. It's inexpensive, and it's a great performer. So I encourage you, if you're looking for something like this, pick this guy up. Until then, happy flying.